Today, I want to talk about a choices story. It's called My Two True First Loves. Let's see what this really is called. Because I've been calling it My Two True First Loves. Oh,
I don't know.
this was a lot. One of the few that released daily, or as far as I can recall, the only one. So I got hooked pretty fast. For some time, it was part of my night routine. Yes, I only read choices before bed. Now, we play as this girl, or should I say one of these girls. YN is what I will be calling her. I know most people use the term MC. I prefer YN. Now, YN is about to tell her childhood crush Mason that she had feelings for him. Like every typical bad boy, he breaks and entering, and then that gives her the perfect opportunity to confess. Now, Mason can be any of these guys, and you can name him whatever you want. But I stuck with the name Mason, but I spelled it with a Y. That's Mayson. Ha! And I also chose this Mason. I know we all did. Come on. Don't trick yourself. This was the cutest Mason. Let's not even play around about this one. So, Mason, right before YN can confess, he had a confession boiling himself and tells her that he has a girlfriend. Her world crashes and burns and blows up before her eyes in that very moment, of course. We also get our first diamond choice on this scene, which makes me curious. How many bands have you blown on the Choices app? I bought all the choices in this story. Well, most of them. Furthermore, the next day at school, we are greeted by our best female friend, Ava. I renamed her Tori, and she looked like this. Most of you chose this Ava. Come on, let's be honest here. Now, Ava, she tells us that she has a boyfriend. You guessed it. Yep, it's Mason. So, flash forward a few chapters, and Mason mentions that he wanted to ask us out, YN. But when he called, the line was busy. So he went ahead and asked out her best friend instead. He didn't leave no voicemail, no callback, no star 69, no text. He just gave up after one attempt.
What? What the fuck?
By this point in this story, I hated Mason. We all hated Mason. The Tumblr's Choices fandom was rioting and threatening to burn him alive. Let's discuss our other love interest, Noah. He can look like this. I picked this face. I'm not sure who the majority chose. It may have been a three-way tie, and less of a landslide this time, like with Mason. So we met Noah, a nameable love interest. I kept his name the same. We met him back in chapter 1 or 2. I can't remember. He saved us when some sketchy man tried to sell us Adderall or Tylenol or some over the counter drug. So after we get to know the self proclaimed bad boy, even though Mason's the real bad boy, in my opinion, Mason starts to get jealous for no reason while dating our so called best friend Ava. There was even a scene where YN breaks her arm during cheerleading practice, and Noah comes to her rescue half dressed from the locker room after hearing her scream. Mason joins them later after he finishes getting dressed. Then he goes over to help YN as well. When he shows up, YN is already cradled in Noah's grasp. Mason, having no regard for your sprained limb, then begins to hard press Noah out of the blue. Like, what? Mason admits that he heard YN yelling from the locker room, but took his sweet ass time.
Seriously, what the fuck are you doing?
Like Noah popped out of that bee half naked to help her. Mason's trash. Let me tell you, because there is quite a shift in Mason's. As an adult, Mason is selfish, inconsistent, tone deaf, delusional, and possessive. And of course, a raging F boy. Childhood Mason climbs a tree for us to get us an apple when YN was hungry, when they were lost in the woods for like an hour. He's the guy that stood between her and the crashing waves on the beach so she didn't get drenched. He was a little prince. What happened to him? I think I might have an idea. Now let's talk about Mr. Jennings, Mason's father. Mr. Jennings is probably the worst choices villain next to the Duke Richards from Desire and Decorum, who called YN's mom a whore right to her face. But that's a review for another time. Apparently, this man, Mr. Jennings, is the reason Ava is dating Mason. He ships it, to say the least. Apparently, this man, air quotes, Mr. Jennings, he hates Noah. He outgrew the Price family. The Price family is YN's family. Her last name is Price, and yeah, whether you like it or not, you can't change this. So, to briefly review Mr. Jennings' Rowland story, he shot Noah when he tried to stop his younger brother or older brother Elijah from stealing from his house. Ever since then, Mason hated him for getting shot by his dad. Mason hated Noah for getting shot by his dad. Which makes no sense. And by the way, Mason and Noah used to be friends, but still, Mason feels no remorse after Noah got shot. Then, Choice decided to show this little trigger warning at the beginning of the story. Yeah, that. So I don't get it. If you can see the guy I chose to be Mason, then look at the guy I chose to play Noah. Where does this little trigger note at the beginning play a part in the story? I have no clue. Maybe I'm missing something and someone can tell me. I don't know. Is Mason not who I think he is? Or is it Noah? It could be Noah. Anyways, there's this one scene where Noah goes over to your house and your father is home and he gets angry that Noah stepped foot inside and should have been directed to wait on the porch instead. He often referred to him as that Harris boy. So did Mason's father. So Mason shows up the same night, but he's allowed to come into the house. I guess they all hate Noah because he was caught being a thief or whatever, or they think he was a thief when he was trying to stop his brother from stealing from Mason's house. Side note, look at the outfits the guys wore when they went to pick up YN for prom. Noah left no crumbs with this blue suit and necklace, and Mason left the whole meal untouched. Just look at the comparison. There was another time when he wore a flower and colorful bow tie. Ew. And there was even a time when they were celebrating this winter festival thing at their school where he wore an entire baby blue suit from head to toe. It was so ugly. Now let's skip forward. Or backward, should I say. Remember her best friend Ava that was dating Mason? Well, they broke up a few chapters ago, sometime before prom. She never wanted to date Mason, had a big old crush on YN this whole time. She told us that she had a girlfriend later and wanted us to be the first to know about it because we're the best of besties, right? Right? So, Ava, why didn't you tell us over the course of 90 days of summer vacation that you were dating our childhood friend Mason? Why? Keep that to yourself. We don't care because you had the chance to tell us about Mason and you didn't. So I could not stand Ava even more. She's such a fake, phony little snake, just like Mason. And you think I would date you, Ava? I wouldn't date you or Mason after that. And there was also a chapter sometime in Christmas break where Noah and his family are meant to go to Disney World or something. but Noah stays behind because he just wants his sister and his mom to have a good time at Disney. So he stays behind, and then you show up with Noah to your house, and your father doesn't like Noah, right? Or so we thought. He didn't even let you sit on the porch. But when he finds out that Noah's going to be alone on Christmas Day, he says, "Oh, since you're going to be alone, how about you sleep in my house with my daughter, sleep in the bedroom right next to hers, and I'll be on the other side of the house." So that's what he did. Flash forward, Mason shows up and he finds out that Noah's staying there, and then he invites everybody to his cabin. Mr. Jennings starts roasting everybody at the table. He starts clowning their whole family. He calls Mr. Price's daughter whore right to her face. He calls Mason some names. He calls Noah some names. They all storm off, and then he has a heart attack. Then they get in a car crash, and then some fairies pop up, and it was a lot. And then by the time the end of this story, you have to choose between Mason and Noah. I clearly chose Noah. I'm sure everyone chose Noah. And then after that, there's like a time skip where you're in college. And then the guy that you chose picks you up after the semester is over, and then you guys go to a play or something. And then your sister, Mackenzie Price, her name is Mackenzie by default, but you can rename her. She says something referring to the title. She's like, "Oh, who do you love more? Your camera or your boyfriend? It must be hard picking between your two first loves," referring to her being into photography because YN is into photography, and that's something she fell in love with him because she ended up leaving the cheerleading team at some point. So yeah, they're trying to say that the story was about her passion being one of her loves, and one of the guys she picks also not it being Mason and Noah, or Tori as well, because Tori ended up being a love interest, or Ava, I named her Tori. So yeah, that's my first two true loves, or my two first loves, yeah. And yeah, that's my review on it. And if you want to play it, go ahead. It's in the Choices app. Choices stories you play. And maybe I'll review another story. Right now I just finished reading Surrender. Wow. And right now I'm reading The Cursed Heart. Really good one. But there are also others that I played in Choice app that I can review. And all right, that's all.